Everyone. Welcome to the 7th annual CSDS Sustainability Crash Course. Today we have a presentation on indoor environmental quality of life that will run till 10:50. This is also the kickoff of CSDS's and Pratt's Green Week, which has a bunch of events that run through the week, which are all available on our posters in the hall. The reception at the end is open to everyone, so please stop by after you have a long and educational day. And without further ado, I will pass it off to Tetsu. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Oh, it's not raining and everyone's responsive. It's nice. I'm supposed to stay here so that the microphone is near and recording. So I usually tend to like to be in front of people, but this is where I'm going to be. Oh, thank you for coming. And next 15 minutes or so, I would like to go over the general, more about the approach rather than the specifics, the ingredients rather than the recipe. I'd like to give you an overview of design aesthetics towards the attitude for indoor environmental quality. And I don't trying to mix with sick people's data or images of depressive environment, those kind of things I would like to avoid. I would rather entice you with things how you can take some of these pieces home and maybe apply it to your own environment. And for those people who are interested in getting more in depth of indoor environmental quality and qualitative, both qualitative and quantitative measure, there will be certificate program available through a School of Continuing Education starting next fall. So that will be more of a lengthy, multiple design and also lecture and research combined program that allows you to walk away with a portfolio ready, some kind of a package. But this one is more of a condensed version of it. And I like to do mine for 40 minutes. And I also like to introduce one of my students who just finished this project at the interior design department at graduate level qualifying from Pratt Institute, so that there's a little bit of pedagogy or images and application you get to see. And so you'll hear her for 5 minutes or so, 5-10 minutes at the end. So let's see. Do I hide this Google Hangouts? Yep. Good. So these are the kind of previews of images that you will see, and I'll walk you through it. And like I said, indoor environmental quality sounds so serious or boring, but I think there's a way to look at and perceive things from a different angle, from a designer's point of view, to be able to assess, understand, and apply these kind of knowledges to different places. So can I just get a general gist of where everybody is? Professional designer, faculty, student? Okay, hold it. Fashion, industrial design, interior design, architecture? None of the above. Okay, that's fine. Welcome. So in general, this is the categories of sustainable design that I tend to take on different categories of things, energy efficiency, water, materials and resources. But as you can see in the blue, that's where we're going to be focusing on today for the next half an hour or so. And there are some aspects of indoor environmental quality that might be new. I like to include the essence of ergonomics because it really is anything that encompasses on how the qualitative measure that addresses reducing stress, providing comfort, being healthy, being productive, feeling good, happy, anything that generates those kind of things. So in a typical, for example, in a lead format, if you will, they don't talk about ergonomics and such, but I think it's really important that the human body within a spatial condition needs some consideration towards design approach that allows people to feel that comfort. So we'll go through all those categories. And I just wanted to share, even in the lead, without really talking about lead and the credit and the status quo, but I just wanted to even share that professional industry even takes a look at indoor environmental quality pretty seriously, so that it has its own category as well. For those people interested, the credit numbers and things are connected to that. And let me start with natural light, daylighting. Yes, we live in a photosynthetic environment. We live around the solar system. And people really think about how gather and harvest as much sunlight as possible. But if we were to think the other way, maybe it starts with the darkness and start to think about how much light do we need, bringing it into the space. So there was a kind of a conversation about just an abundance of light, which ended up gaining heat gains and affecting the temperature and other issues that you need more solar blinds. Maybe there was a way to think about and challenging the amount of light that comes in as a designer. So coming from black and being able to start to peel off in space so that that allows illumination to come in brings a very sensual, poetic, and as well as harmonious and controlled environment. And we're talking about not 3D, 4D environment where the sun moves around the space according to the climate and the angles, and it brings different kind of characters. So these examples, for example, will start to indicate how the light could come in at one particular moment, but at the same time, it will move throughout. So there is this kind of a drama within the space that will be created. Another thing like low-lying lab, it's about illuminating the basement, illuminating the dark, somewhere that the sun doesn't reach, that you'll be able to bring the solar tubes, a technology, if you will, to be able to funnel, relocate, transfer the same ambience. And I think it's happening everywhere in Europe and Asia, but in New York City, this will be the first underground New York City park that would be illuminated by the sun. And I think it was an exhibit that it was just closed recently, but it will manifest as the Delancey development continues to go. This is a crematorium in Berlin, but you can see this is what I call a washing, a wall wash or light wash series of natural lighting control. And it's just the way that opens up like a form of a skylight. It abundance of light that comes in, but it just brings very different types of radiation of illumination. It's a beautiful space, and finding calm for the program that it is for this particular building, it makes perfect sense to be able to bring that kind of light in. Aperture control. This is a library in Paris, and it works like a shutter. And its mechanism is being operating with the sensor to be able to effectively move around the aperture according to the amount of light that is coming in. So there's a sensor. And when I use this kind of an image to my students, it's always helpful to see a section, elevation, and seeing the kind of a construct in the context of that. So it's not just a beautiful image, but as you can see, you can start to think of like a camera shutter that allows to open and close and being able to control the amount of light that comes into the space. So hence, protecting the very valuable archival old books, maybe creating more appropriate amount of foot candle inside the space when it's sunny, inside the library to be able to quietly read. Filtering. You can apply a material to be able to change the way you perceive and feel inside the space. And this panoramic rainbow panorama by Arthur Eliason, it gives you an array of all colors of rainbows throughout the circular movement, or you can, this particular image shows pinkish dark orangish color, but you move around this particular circle, you will get to be able to see in all different films of color, and you can understand the way the psyche is related with these perception of color, light, and space. Angling. This is Stephen Hall's diagram of school in Glasgow, and comparing to a normal standard building on the left, and this one talks about being able to shift, angle, calculate the sun angle so that the particular kind of light will bring in directly into a particular side or area of space in the building by leaning towards, by funneling and portaling towards the sun or the sources. And that these color lights, for example, the red one is a final review in June, higher altitude light, as you can imagine, that would hit down to the basement more directly. So there will be that kind of, so it will be more of that direct light. That's kind of a slide shows that I showed you in the first one. So we can predict and premeditate and design the kind of light that you envision according to calculation. Calculation is about understanding your location, your geography, your building orientation, your building angle, your building heights, climate, building envelope, and you can calculate and study how the light would come in. That's probably the most important part of daylighting aspects of it. And it will, in the program that I talked about earlier, we'll be doing more calculations and samples and case studies. But even in a kind of a modest sketch model type approach, you can start to create an opening to the space and have a light source calculated according to the solar orientation of that day, summer solstice, winter, fall, or morning, day, or night. And so these, you can see the 6 different arrangements of different openings, and allows it for you to foresee what kind of light could come in to the space. So you can predict, foresee, and calculate. You can also run through a software and platforms like Google Earth, Lightscape, SketchUp, and many other softwares that you can generate those kind of daylighting studies as well. Next is air quality. Yeah, I don't know why I picked this image, but I wanted to show that if the baby is crawling on the floor, that you don't go say, "Oh no, don't go there," right? So you want to trust your air that you're breathing. That you want to feel comfortable about something that's invisible that you're inhaling in. And if we go through this oxygen CO2 exchange quite a bit, I don't know how many times we actually breathe. Some say 10,000 times a day. That sounds a little too many, but anyways, there's a lot of breathing going on, and the skin, our entire body is exposed to the elements. So there are many things that we should look into, and there are ways to prevent it or minimize it. One way, this Fujimoto styles of approach for this particular house is about blurring the line between outside and inside, the internal layer and external layer, where even the outside building envelope is almost as if the same language of the interior, so that not only it's a rhetoric and a formal language that is consistent, but it has its own function and the way that the air, light, sound can travel effectively. Just the general things that, yeah, that people know already, that what we need to do, it's kind of a household thing. Yeah, of course we should change the filter because it collects and filters it, but a month you should look into it, and if you don't have to exchange it, you can vacuum it, wash it, so that the air can filter through. That clogging is a bad issue for molding and other kind of bacteria to grow. Of course, the flow is important. and not collecting things so that any kind of dust mites or anything won't habitate in there. Moisture is a problem, so you need to take a look at it, and some kind of a sensor system might be helpful as well. So that's something that you cannot, like carbon monoxide. You can't smell, like the car garage suicidal movie films we have seen many times, because you don't smell it, you don't hear it, you don't taste it. So it's stuff like that. It's a very important thing. Carbon monoxide, even the radon testing is a good thing, so that any kind of a nuclear or traces of gases, it's good to have, good to check every once in a while. And if you're fanatic about it, you can just install the battery operated and call it a day. So these are NASA research. Sorry, the images might not be crisp. But there are elements that they have found scientifically that the plants can replace and reduce these chemical toxins that are in the air. Trichloroethylene, xylene, formaldehyde, ammonia, and benzene, for example, has been identified. And I want to show you that these plants, how you read this is that the way these symbols are being applied. So the orange is ammonia, the benzene is the star, xylene. Anyway, so these plants and specimens are able to remove or reduce significantly from the air that you stay in. So in other words, it's not just plants and the way that you just like to see some greenery. They actually have performative quality that gives it back, contribute back to you. The ferns, the spider plant. Maybe you already have these plants and you like it and you don't know why, and it's maybe because it's helping you out invisibly. I have a couple of them. Oh, here are more aggressive, not aggressive, more even more helpful ones that they get. If I were to call these the Michelin stars of the air cleaner, these are the 4 stars and 5-star operator, if you will. It's amazing. So knowing those kind of plants and being able to not just have the so-called green wall, just to bring some plants in, maybe you can combine the two to be able to have the indoor environmental quality, soothing for your eyes, but actually has some kind of a capacity to bring back. And these are chemical parts and other pollutants in the air, something to look at. We can look into it more scientifically, but we don't have time, or we're not going to go through it today. Recently, I had a chance honored to work with this aroma company, and I never really thought about aromatherapy to be in the kind of categories of what I was thinking as a part of indoor environmental quality in the context of what I'm trying to share with you today. Turns out that there are some aromatherapy that reduces the amount of nitrogen dioxide, which comes from your car exhaust. So if you're near the window of heavy traffic, this particular pine from Hokkaido, because of the aromatherapy is really misting or invisibly covering the air in a kind of a molecule level, and allows it to clean itself or remove particular kind of chemicals. And I'm very much interested in finding out more and more about what it could do, what plants can help, and how these kind of fact findings, or even part of the biomimicry, finding something that it's already been discovered in nature and applying into it. And so that's something that I always look forward to doing. But here's another example of aromatherapy that I didn't know about until recently, is that it has antibacterial, antivirus properties to it. So it's not just, I love the scent and smells so good and makes me feel this way. There's something to it in the interior environmental contribution. It can do something to you. So now, these days, I look at just the pattern and designs of the green walls and fenestration and the combination of light and space, but even more, maybe these plants can participate in our lives, making it better, healthier, more productive. Acoustic quality. active noise control, passive noise control, and we will focus on the passive noise control for this particular. It's important aspects of it, I think. For those people who've been in the Pratt Institute, you know that the noise is, I don't hear that many people nodding, but it's a big issue. We teach in the hallway, and it's, well, let me not go there. Please delete that, by the way, in the recording. I love this campus, so I'm very happy to be here. So thinking about design and being able to bring a quality environment doesn't have to come short of design and aesthetics. And as you know, SciArc is known to be more technology advanced, platform-driven, morphing, angulation. But at the end of the day, you can generate a very good design with a good quality that not just mimics the look of something, but it gives, it performs, it works. So in this case, the felt membrane, the undulating, morphing, sky-like ceiling treatment does exactly that. The acoustic control in this concrete, very harsh, straight, hard wall environment. And looking at passive noise control, it's good to take a look at some of the datas and coefficients, if you will, to be able to understand in general for you and more specific for us to, or maybe both, to be able to understand what is it that we need to kind of deal with. So it's just so you can start to assess what is actually a good, perfectly reflective piece or perfectly absorptive piece. So 0 to 1, so fiberglass, you can see it's really high. Drapery, felt, human body is actually a very good sound absorbent. Not through your ears, but your whole body. You know, sometimes you stand in front of somebody and you're talking, like you can hear that everything's going through their body. Do you know that feeling? Makes you feel really nervous. It's usually somebody who's got a really good listening skills, somebody important, like when you're talking to them, like everything is channeling through. There is no sound that it's leaking out of the air, like it goes in through somebody's ears. But for material properties, you can see that these kind of things do matter. Kind of an obvious thing, like something hard and dense materials do have more reflective quality, and soft, thick materials tends to do more observant. So let's once again the design, and if the thin and soft doesn't provide a single effect, maybe you can multiply it, or you can repeat it, you can serial repetition it to be able to create not only an interesting environment, but the soothing and aesthetically pleasing space. So this used to be a gym and a basketball court, well-used floor I can see, and it turns into a concert hall. Pretty nice. Yeah, this looks like a depressive commercial. It's just the lighting is really bad. But it was, well, it happened in Miami. It's so bright out there. The dark space is good for them. But you can see the kind of serial tubular container, and more surface you provide in the space then allows for sound to either bounce and diffuse or gets absorbed. So by doing this, it ended up being a very quiet space by having that much surface, by adding all those cylindrical surfaces. Or, okay, the concrete doesn't really have a good acoustical absorbent property, but just creating the sheer light and simplicity, and people behave more quietly. They respond to the kind of ambient that it creates. So, you know, it doesn't have to always be like scientifically proven. If you design something really nice, you will gravitate towards more calm. You would find that calmness in the space. So it's not only the data and aesthetics, you know, but you do something good and it will become so. More on the industrial scale, this is kind of a felt pod-like things that it actually can reverse to be able to form a certain like a pod-like things or couch-like things. What time is it? Well, how are we doing time-wise? 10:30. Okay, so 10 more minutes from me. This is a kinetic sculpture that responds to the weather data outside and trying to replicate the illumination accordingly. But what it's made with a kind of a washi paper and this kind of tubular spaces ended up being a very good sound absorbent. So it becomes, it does multiple things at the same time. Passive noise control, sound transmission class, and it's about attenuation of the sound. How do you allow or not allow the sound to travel through one surface or another? How do you trap or control that vibration between one side of the wall to the other? So you can apply a different kinds of density or different kinds of layers of windows or glass to achieve higher STC. Or you can start to think about the wall types. And this is something that it's in between the walls, so it might be something beyond your knowledge, but just say that you can create different thickness, and in between those walls, you can create a different types of combination of material and offsetting studs and other things to be able to create a hollow gap where the sound gets trapped in between. So there is a higher to lower, and there's a gradation of things you can do. And if you want any of these data, I'll be happy to send it or share the PDF to you. And I think it will be on the archive of CSDS, so you can go to that. Here's a very rudimentary and very simple diagram of how you can create this kind of offsetting wall. So this you can see the two studs are not meeting, so they're offsetting to each other in the walls. And so usually the studs are connected to one another. So when anything vibrates, it vibrates through it. So instead you separate them. Yes, floor and the ceiling probably has those kind of a vibrational quality to it, but you can somehow stop the vibration from one surface to another. The way that you can control the sound bouncing around, you can also start to mimic some of the properties and looks of what you can find in nature. And that's, I think, it's a really sexy and interesting part for me, not just the looks for it, but the structure and the function and how it gives it back or how it has those performative qualities. That's something that I do teach in the biomimicry class, which is the next class. Next sessions for this CSDS. Acoustic diagram. So in this case, the upper alto, this isn't about rejecting or absorbing or ignoring the sound. It's maximizing the way that the sound travels so that people can hear. Sometimes it's about abundance and you don't want to hear things. Sometimes you want to be all the way back in the library to be able to hear the speaker. And we rely on the technology and smartphones and all so on, but you know, he was in the 1940s, during the war period. How do you manipulate, how do you design the wall so that the sound travels more evenly and equally? So there's that side of the acoustical control. It's not just about blocking, it's about distributing it and controlling it well. And we use sectional diagrams like this to be able to share and calculate and predict. Moisture control. It's not that moist in moisture is not so much of a problem in this part of the world, but when you go to other parts like Asia or Caribbean, or the other South maybe is a good area to consider about the moisture and the temperature control. And you can understand the heat transfer and how it travels. So architecturally, you can start to build an envelope that allows it to circulate properly, or having a kind of a symbiotic relationship, source and cohort that allows it to have a balance or harmonious relationship between what's in the air and how it gets used or distributed. This one is an interesting one that we use in our biomimetic class examples, that it responds to a moisture that allows to open the pores out so that it actually responds to a climate. It's almost like a pine cone where it starts to open up and close, or one of those moisture responsive plants that reacts to what the environment offers. And in this case, not only that you can move the air, but you can also transfer moisture to another place. And this was one of my students who worked on my biomimicry class, and she was in Taiwan and interested in providing a solution to a very humid train station, and she looked into dementicosaurs that has a very high moisture absorbent properties. There's something to look into. You think it's like killing bugs and catching cockroaches, but there's something else that you can use for. Something to know in New York City, right? In the diagram, I think in the form of delineation, it's always good to use a section and coding, infographics to show the movements, color coding to be able to separate what you're trying to show. And in a very complex diagram like this, you can still pack in a lot of information with the diagrammatic qualities. Ergonomics, that's the last one. I'd like to think about ergonomics to be beyond just hand holding the mouse to your computer, the way you engage the keyboard, the way your chair fits your body, fits your pelvis and your back. Why don't we think about ergonomics from the entire body point of view, how we engage our body, the skeleton, the muscular tonality for all types of people, body types, heights, weights, gender, anything. By doing so, you have to understand the kind of scale and the different types of human body, human anatomy, human scale, and the range. It's an important aspect of it. So Henry Dreyfus really wrote one of the main guidelines for it. The way our bodies work, our bone structure, our perception of eyesight to a handle, the grip. And then you can start to apply those kind of clearance, the level of comfort, the space, the clearance, the stepping, the sequence, the way you move around the space accordingly. And you can create a space according to that need. So you can see like some of these considerations. Maybe some of the morphing curves, sometimes I find it unreasonable or sometimes not thought out carefully. But in this case, just to think about the way that many people can occupy that space and having a pretty dense, I would say. But it's at least finding some kind of a comfort zone by creating a higher ceiling level so the volume in there is good and enough clearance to be able to walk. Wide people versus thin people, to be able to expand your span of your body is a different thing than the other. And in response to it, the furniture, some kind of a spatial condition can respond to the way that we engage space. And maybe we can learn that outline and use it to design things. So in many ways, the indoor environmental quality has so much to give and is equated with the quality of life, and hope you got excited about making some changes to your immediate life. And there's so much more to learn, and it doesn't have to be dry and boring. Thank you. So I'd like to introduce Irene Wong. She just finished this 7-week project. She's a qualifying Pratt interior design student. Qualifiers are somebody who changed a career change from undergrad to grad. So she just started to learn everything last semester from zero. Like she didn't know how to draft or make models or triple click on your renderings or whatever. And now she has done something really great for this Bayard building, hypothetical, but given a real site. And that I wanted to show her, I wanted to share her design proposal with you in the next five minutes. Okay. Please welcome Irene.
Thank you. Right here, right?
And I'm going to give you 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Not working. How do I full screen this?
You're just showing all the images.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Irene. As Tetsu said, I'm in my first year in the 3-year MFA program here at Pratt. This semester, we had a project where we were asked to design an integrative health center, which incorporates both traditional Western medicine with more holistic Eastern medicine. So I will be sharing that with you today. So I focused on anxiety as my illness, and the treatments such as yoga, meditation, and bringing in sunlight and nature as a natural way of healing the body. So I was really interested in creating kind of a meditative space where the environment could really support the healing of the patients. So some of the environmental qualities that I wanted to achieve were soft diffuse lighting, bringing a lot of natural light, acoustically controlling the place for areas that need to be quieter, and then bringing in natural elements as well. So I wanted to first start with just giving you guys an overview of the site, just to give you some context. We were given the top 2 floors of the Bayard building in downtown Manhattan. So we could break through the ceiling, make any sorts of skylights we wanted, but the original structure had to remain the same. So this was my proposal and plan. So what I wanted to emphasize here was how the program kind of stays in the middle on both floors. So it allows for more controlled acoustics and lighting. And then the residual areas around the perimeter become the circulation, and also it encourages patients to kind of relax in areas over here where they have access to direct sunlight and views of the city. So I started the first indoor environmental quality that I was interested in was daylight control. So these are some of my initial lighting studies, which where I was trying to understand what sorts of openings or skylights would give me the ambient light quality that I wanted in my space. So, for example, I found that south-facing wells and kind of upward-facing wells gave a better, the type of lighting quality that I wanted, more than a north-facing well, for example, that was too dark for what I wanted. Something else that I explored was trying to bring in ambient light while also allowing views out towards the sky without the direct light shining into the viewer's face. So more specifically, in relation to our site, I studied the different sun angles of the site, noting all the different solstices and understanding that the steepest angle that the sun would hit our site was at 68 degrees. So then using my study models, I tried to show the different ambient light that would be created at different points of the day. So all these different angles of the sun, with the steepest being at 68 degrees, would always create ambient lighting in the space. So for air quality, as Tetsu mentioned earlier, there's a lot of different pollutants that surround us in our buildings. It comes from the materials, the building materials, textiles, cleaning supplies, the paints. So I was proposing a green wall with various air purifying plants that would directly kind of combat all these pollutants. Some of the other spatial considerations that I considered were just creating this open circulation to allow this continuous flow of people and air. And also, if the windows were to be opened, it could allow for cross ventilation through the windows. For aromatherapy, there are a lot of essential oils out there that have antibacterial and antiviral properties when released into the air, and they can purify the air. So these aromatherapies also have abilities to improve your mood, or calm anxiety. So I kind of categorized some of these essential oils into calming or uplifting and map them into my section to show which areas I would want certain qualities. So for example, the meditation room, I would want kind of a more calming effect, while maybe the lobby, that's a more social area, I would want a more uplifting aromatherapy. For acoustical quality, I first looked into just general space planning to try to keep the more social and louder areas together, while keeping the more quiet areas towards the back and away from the entrance, which was right here, and away from the more social areas. I also increased the wall thickness for areas that needed more acoustic control, and included sound absorbing materials for areas that needed additional acoustical control. And some of these materials I'll go into next. So I began my research by trying to look for sustainable materials, but also materials with acoustical control. So the two that I found that I wanted to use were Baibu and Phil's felt. Both of these materials are rapidly renewable, 100% natural material, biodegradable. They have zero VOC emission and have acoustical properties. And then another material that I looked into was Ecograss, which is also 100% natural porcelain. It's chemical free, and the company is very eco-friendly in their operations, which is why I was interested in their materials. So this final section kind of shows how all these elements work together. So you have these light wells channeling light into these lower rooms. This whole area has more controlled lighting, whereas the outer perimeter has the direct sunlight. You have the green wall here, which helps with cleansing the air that's circulating throughout the whole place. And then you have kind of the acoustical properties of these wall paneling materials. So that's it.
I think it's for a 7-week project for qualifying level to be able to consider, research, apply, iterate, and execute to that level. I'm very happy to have her design proposals displayed as part of the Green Week. It will be, there's some industrial design, fashion, interior, and architecture students' work have been displayed already in the Parian Gallery, which is over there. Pratt Studio, second floor. Higgins Hall lobby, and the pit. This is part of the crash course. This is the beginning of the Green Week. But if you're interested in seeing some of the students' work, including Irene's, it will be shown there. And so please stop by if you have time. And so just moving forward, you know, the projects like this always have more to push. And I think I'm willing to, and we'll talk about how we can include ergonomics and life cycle assessment to this project. It will even be more holistic and very professional portfolio-ready projects. But I think it was a fantastic design proposal that she came up with, so I'm very happy with that. It's 10:45, the end. Any thoughts or questions or complaints? Too hot? Air quality is bad here? Well, I like reversible fan. I don't, and the ventilation and the cooling and air, so the element of water and the air. The African strategies versus American Indian or Japanese. There's so many different ways of circulating air and controlling moisture. Yes.
I just wanted to say I really appreciate how you focus on ingredients rather than recipes.
Yes. Helena that's Helena von Viliet, and John Swalker and Narada Goldman and I will be working on a different subject about the same importance towards interior design and healthier environment.
Physiological experience.
So we welcome you to that if you like, right after this. Yes, Jamie. Up. What's your name?
Adjula.
Adjula.
Yes.
Nice name.
Thank you.
Never met Adjula before.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to my world. Is that what you said? That's nice. Adjula.
I'm very interested in what is like the plants that can take in the plants that we are encouraged to use for the chemicals that are difficult on animals. I'm wondering if you've come across information about what is happening inside the plants inside.
Right.
In terms of symbiosis.
Yeah. I'm not a horticulturalist, but I am interested in finding out more about those kind of things, and not only the ones that the NASA listed, but I think there's more. And I would like to get into the culturally specific specimen as well as regionally specific ones. So it's not like a universal answer to it.
Right.
In the molecular level, I think they neutralize it. They're breaking down so that they take it in, but it doesn't affect the way they live. I mean, any biologist or horticulturalist could tell me otherwise, but I think the soil has so much power to take it in and distribute. So Earth is a really amazing thing. And when you scale and zoom in, there's so much going on. There's a universe on its own. Yeah, so.
So yeah, if you think about two different mediums when it's air, so as you presented, the plant's ability as it's respired to take in those other molecules, sometimes fix them, which means basically they're just controlling. And you get the same thing from something like bioremediation, which you're using in the soil. So the idea that plants through their root system and also as they take things out of the soil, actually petroleum spill, petrochemical movement going on there, and the roots can take that up and oftentimes fix it. So there is for an agriculturalists who are interested in doing food producing growth in areas that might have pollution. It's a concern, and I think the Cornell Cooperative Venture is like one of the best set of soil scientists.
Ithaca.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true. The agricultural biochemical environment, they're really serious about that. It's just so amazing, you know. I recently began composting my Welch and all the vegetables, and the way they break them down somehow, and you can like literally lift it and admire the earth, because that's the root of everything, you know. Somehow, when the seeds and the water goes in, they grow. It's amazing. But I mean, it's a little different things that you're talking about, being able to absorb the toxins and how they distribute out. That's a different conversation, but I'm very interested in looking into that as well as you. Because I'm not all know-it-all, but you know, it's about learning curve and I'm just being open to new information. The curiosity opens new doors, so I feel good about just keep on learning.
I will be in contact.
Oh yeah, please do.